So an analogy to these programs of the 60s is a doghouse. You take any random boards, nail and hammer, pound them together, and you've got a structure that will stay up. You don't have to know anything except how to pound a nail to do that. Now, somebody could come along and look at this doghouse and say, wow, if we could just expand that by a factor of 100, we could make ourselves a cathedral. It's about 3 feet high. That would give us something 30 stories high, and that would be really impressive. We could get a lot of people in there. And so the carpenters would set to work blowing this thing up by a factor of 100. Now, we all know, being engineers and scientists, that when you blow something up by a factor of 100, its mass goes up by a factor of 1,000,000, and its strength, which is mostly due to cross sections of things, only goes up by a factor of 10,000. So when you blow something up by a factor of 100, it gets about a factor of 100 weaker in its ability. And in fact, what will happen to this doghouse, it will just collapse into a pile of rubble. And then there are two choices you can have when that happens. The most popular one is to say, well, that was what we were trying to do all along. Put more garbage on it, plaster it over with limestone, and say, yes, we were really trying to do pyramids, not Gothic cathedrals. That, in fact, I think accounts for much of the structure of modern operating systems today. Or you can come up with a new concept, which the people who started getting interested in complex structures many years ago did. They called it architecture, literally the designing and building of successful arches, a non-obvious, non-linear interaction between simple materials to give you non-obvious synergies and a vast multiplication of materials. It's quite remarkable to people when I tell them that the amount of material in Chartres Cathedral, which is an enormous physical structure, is less than the amount of material that was put into the Parthenon. And the reason is it's almost all air and almost all glass. Everything is cunningly organized in a beautiful structure to make the whole have much more integrity than any of its parts. So that's the other way you can go. And part of the message of OOP was that as complexity starts becoming more and more important, architecture is always going to dominate material. And in fact, the sad fact, I think, about OOP is people didn't get interested in architecture because of the beauty of it. They're only starting to get interested in architecture now when the internet is forcing everybody to do it. That's pretty pathetic.